Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, hot off of watching what was an ultimate circus show. Really not a whole lot of redeeming qualities in tonight's debate. However, I've got even more notes. We got 4 pages of notes today through the magic of technology and the internet. I must say, I am happy that I'm able to broadcast this worldwide. You, hopefully watching these debates, get to join in the conversation. We have a real conversation about this. So I'm actually going to start from the end, the wrap-ups that everybody got, and then kind of overall talk about what I thought about the debates tonight, and then go over the timeline as we take your questions, hopefully about the 2020 election, about tonight's debate, maybe in comparison to last night's debate. So, who are they pushing? Well, they led off with Bernie Sanders. They gave Bernie an awful lot of time. They're obviously trying to push Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, she is the female Cory Booker. She rubs me the wrong way every time I see her establishment politician face and actions. And there's a lot of insanity up there today. Hey, what's up, unemployed Mario Yamasaki? Guys, we're going to be bringing up, again, the questions. We're doing the AMA. It's absolutely going to get into it. But let's talk about this. So they're pushing Harris. They gave Bernie a bunch of time. Obviously, Biden gets a ton of time. And then you have Pete Bootlicker, a.k.a. Pete Buttigieg. I hate saying his name because I know I'm never going to get it perfect. But I'll tell you right now, Buttigieg, although I completely disagree on just about everything he said politically, came off the most poised and prepared for this debate. He was well-spoken, articulate, and really nailed a lot of points. There were some gotcha moments. Gillibrand got some time in there as well. You literally had to scream to get in there. So, without further ado, if you didn't watch it, let's start with a little bit of the breakdown. So it starts off with Sanders, taxes for the middle class. Will they go up for his universal health care? At first he says no, it's going to be Wall Street, but then he admits, yes, taxes will go up if we get this universal health care plan. Yeah, not a great look, Sanders. And Sanders is the only one to invoke the military-industrial complex in the closing. So good for him. Yang also had a strong closing. They let him talk, I think, 2 or 3 times tops. Yang got like almost no play whatsoever, but he also did not seem prepared. I liked what he had to say at the end. He's a Russophile. He promoted Russiagate. Not my favorite. So Biden comes up, and it's literally just establishment, hodgepodge bullshit we've heard about the middle class again and again and again, and he blames Trump for everything. Trump, 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 Trump. And that's kind of a theme for Biden throughout this. He keeps talking about how this administration's ruined it, and he always talks about how great his administration was. Well, it kind of bites him in the ass later on when they're talking about immigration, and a couple of the candidates bring up the fact that Barack Obama was deporting these people too. You know, it's a soft blow. They don't talk about the cages and the separation of children. They act like that's all Trump, but they do say that you deported 3 million people. That's later. So after Harris, again, it's all Trump attack. She actually talked about almost a UBI. She slickly put this in there. She said that she would give out $6,000 a year in tax credits for families making under $100,000. Well, my question is, what constitutes a family? Is that just a married couple? Is that a married couple with kids? Is there going to be more than that? Yang's subsidy of $12,000 is twice that. Will it go up or down depending on how many children you have? So it was really quick. Again, Kamala Harris is slick, man. She's slick. She's slicker than Cory Booker. But they're both just as slimy, in my opinion. So, Hickenlooper, he's a Bilderberg boy. They let him speak. They didn't give him a lot of time. I'm predicting, he's vying for maybe a cabinet position somewhere down the line. Get his name out there. I don't think he's got a real shot. He kind of talks backing away from socialism because, it's been popularized by Bernie. And then he invokes climate change, health care, abortions for all. Abortions for all was a big brand tonight. Health care that pays for abortions for all. That was everywhere. So then Bernie steps in, and now it's the socialist versus Trump, and he calls Trump a racist liar. Now, liar I'll go with. I hate the racist stuff. You know, I had Robbie Martin on. I was actually trying to get Robbie on because I saw that he was watching the debates to do this AMA with me. We disagree on some subjects. But I took him to task when he called Trump a racist. I really don't believe that. I think the man sees green, baby. He's worked with plenty of color. He worked with Don King for years to make that money, shake that money, son. Doesn't mean he's an honest person. Okay? So we gotta be real about things, guys. So then Gillibrand steps in, and she actually talks a lot of good things. She talks about capitalism versus greed, although, you know, it's kind of bullshit political stuff. She actually said a lot of great things while being a gun grabber, while being an establishment politician. So she talks about big pharma being driven by greed, and then the NRA being driven by greed and sales. So again, didn't love that. I don't love Gillibrand in general. You know, she's a senator in my state. I don't trust her as far as I can throw her. She has NXIVM connections. Her father, Doug Rutnick, worked for them, got her cousin out of NXIVM. It was his second cousin. He ended up marrying her. Yes, that's her stepmother. And then she said she really didn't know about the organization. You can't trust Gillibrand. So then they had this guy, Senator Bennett. He was about, you know, one of the biggest warmongering kind of guys out there, but then kind of brought up that nobody trusts Trump in the Strait of Hormuz. That was later on. He talks about income equality, healthcare, establishment nonsense. Gillibrand, again, they were never even going to Gillibrand. She just shouted in, and there was a lot of fighting. It was ridiculous. Thank you, Neil, the security. This is Unemployed Mario. Keep speaking the truth. Well, thank you. I don't know how many handles you have, Unemployed Mario, but we appreciate the super chats here, 100%. And again, I'm gonna get to your questions in comments in just a moment. We're just trying to fly through at least a quarter or a half of the backtrack through this thing. So then they go to Bootlicker. This is the first time they go to Lord Bootlicker, Pete Buttigieg. And again, man, he is slick. He is a well-spoken politician. Kudos to him. He is seasoned. He is seasoned for being a mayor of Indiana, 100%. And he starts off with the multilingual pandering. Now, I'll say this. Last night, it was La Espanol. It was all over the place. They couldn't get enough Spanish. I think that was the only moment in the entire debate where anybody used any other kind of language, and Bootlicker was pretty slick about it. So in that one, you know, he panders there, and then he calls for a $15 national minimum wage. Man, if we get a $15 national minimum wage, I can't imagine what will happen in New York State. Now, that's not to say I'm against it. I think it's long overdue. But again, you have to have a system where you actually tax the rich, where Amazon, Google, and Apple pay taxes. They don't currently do that. And at a fair rate, not a 70% insanity rate. It's not out of the realm. And no one talks about that, ever. That never comes in as an issue. It's barely spoken about. So then they got Eric Swalwell. If you haven't seen Eric Swalwell, he's got a weird diaper commercial with a kid where he cleans up shit and he can clean up Washington. I don't trust him either. He's a total establishment bullshit politician. His big move tonight was to say, pass the torch, pass the torch. Don't trust Swalwell. I don't think he's got anywhere to go, although he made Harris laugh. So if Harris goes further, you know, maybe he's got a cabinet position in there. Maybe they can sell him. He reminds me of like a slimier John Edwards from back in the day. And in this, you know, he starts talking about student debt for teachers being absolved, tells Biden to pass the torch. Before that, Yang actually brought up how automation and that is an issue, and Amazon paying no taxes, the UBI can't work. He addressed the universal basic income. I don't think it can work on any level, and I've talked about that. We will talk about that when we get to the question and answer session coming up in a minute. So then all of a sudden everybody starts screaming at each other after Biden starts talking about free community college for everybody and absolution. So while they're all screaming at one another, Kamala says, look, the people didn't come here for a food fight. They came here to listen to people who can help them put food on the table. Oh, Kamala, you Booker-esque minx you lying politician. And She's pretty well seasoned. I'd say out of the two that were up there, Bootlicker there, he's not only well seasoned, but he's poised. Kamala comes off like circus show clownish. Like later on, she puts on the anti-immigration face like she's going to cry. It's pretty dramatic and ridiculous, but she's still pretty well spoken, and they're pushing Kamala Harris 100%. So after that, Gillibrand calls for Medicare for all, universal health care, single payer. That's a big theme there. Bootlicker, Medicare for all who want it. He says you can also keep the private option. Biden, Obamacare. We got to build on that. And he starts talking about how great Obamacare was. We've all heard that song and dance. Sanders tells the truth about the healthcare industrial complex. But then, his solution to me is kind of utter bullshit. You know what I mean? We all get taxed more, and we probably get lesser health care. I think the bottom line is we have to start criminally going after these people. And when we subsidize these drug companies, there's a lid on the amount of profits they can actually make. And once the patent is up, forget about it. And you know what? There should be competition quicker than when the patent is up. That formula should be able to be worked upon, especially if we subsidize it. It's insane it's not. Marianne Williamson. So I don't even know who this woman was. Apparently she's an author of a bunch of books I've never read, including Illuminata. So she's some kind of author. And she starts, trying to talk existentially. She's talking about JFK and imagination and the moon landing later. And she's talking about deeper than superficial fixes. She sounds nice. She has no political experience whatsoever, which isn't necessarily good. But she's like, they all raised their hands later on when they were asked, guys, if they would just allow illegals to come in and decriminalize it. Every one of them. Make it not a crime to cross the border. Invite everybody in. I mean, that's how out of touch all 10 of these people were. By the way, I didn't think they were going to talk about Iran or foreign policy at all. They waited until less than 20 minutes left, and they spent less than 2 minutes on it. Nobody really even had to weigh in on Iran. It was barely spoken about. Much different from yesterday, where they waited, but they at least gave it some weight. Okay? So Bennett says he'd build on Obamacare. Sanders, same response, as always, with universal health care. Harris, again, just really looks slimy in her response. Female Cory Booker. And then Swalwell went after American insurance companies. I mean, how hard is that? It's not hard. Let's see. They're all for free health care for illegals, by the way. Everybody said their health care plan would be free for illegal immigrants. So now we're going to decriminalize the border, according to all 10 of these. I mean, how do these people think they're going to win? They're like out of touch. I'm seeing just one thing. Yang is good too. I wanted to hear more of Yang. I don't believe in the UBI, but again, he invoked the Russia propaganda, man. They're the ones interfering with our elections. They're the number one threat. Bullshit. Let's see. Bootlicker, he gets to articulate. He kills it a little bit. Biden, he placates to Bootlicker's answer. Harris, that's the fake immigration tear face. Hickenlooper goes off on kids in cages and Trump. It's all bullshit. They ran on this bullshit. Williamson talked about kidnapping kids. It was really, really bad. Williamson at least talked a little bit about how our foreign policy in South America, which nobody discusses, is one of the reasons many of these people are coming up here. That we've taken over a lot of the resources in Central America and destabilized it. No one talks about that aspect. And it is something worth talking about. I've talked about that with Syrian refugees and others. So, listen, we got another 2.5 pages of notes here. But let's start taking some questions. We will answer all super chats first, everybody. I thank those, but we're going to go all the way to the top here. Let's scroll it up. Let's talk to some people. Let's see. Get over here. All right, I'm Jolly. How you doing? Unemployed. Again, thank you for that super chat. The first thing I'm going to do as president is defeat Donald Trump. That's what a lot of people said. That is the number one thing. We got to beat Trump. We got to beat Trump. Beat Trump. I mean, the echoes in the room of ideas that were non-existent, really, other than in unison, some kind of collective speak, were not many. It was a lot of people parroting the same bullshit, and it was a lot of bullshit. The Book of Bobby, finally a sane voice. Thank you. I haven't seen. Well, Tulsi Gabbard shocked the world last night, and the mainstream media tried to downplay it, and they didn't give her a lot of time. She still comes off the best. I think that they're going to push Harris after this. I think the polls are going to look at Pete Bootlicker and Harris as the top two 100%. Especially when they play the Harris clip over and over again of calling Biden out on his past racist policy positions, because he's an establishment politician that's been here for 30 plus years. So she talked about kind of this segregation on buses issue later on, but we'll get to that. Let's see. Nothing for Yang. They barely gave Yang any kind of forum at all. Love your work, Jason. All the way back to Alex Jones. Thank you. I wish what Alex was like in person was you as well. Tell us the Dog and Pony Show. Thank you, David. I'm trying. Yang lost some when saying he was wanting to work with China with AI interests. Yeah, you know what? His China stance is, listen, at least he was being honest about China. I think Yang has a lot of problems, but I like his voice better than most because he's got his own money, and at least he's coming at it from a semi-honest perspective. Not always honest. I don't see how a UBI actually works, and especially I don't see how he doesn't get a huge amount of pushback from big corporations that again pay zero in taxes when he wants them to pay, again, that 28-30% rate. Let's see. Thanks for watching the BS for us. Thank you, Since Majestic. Kamala was the virtue signal nominee. Big time KM. On purpose, he's prepared. Listen, guys, if I'm going to do this stuff, I know a lot of people make videos about this and talk about the debates. This is my job. You guys are helping me do this. Again, I have a once a month GoFundMe I'm doing. This one's about almost 2 weeks in, not quite 2 weeks in, but we've raised $1,540. We're trying to raise $5,000. I take this extremely seriously. I'm not just gonna read some other people's stuff and then tell you what they think or watch some clips. I'm gonna give you the breakdown. I hope that's why you tune in. And we're gonna get back to the questions, but let's continue on the breakdown. So as we're talking immigration and everybody's bringing out the kids in cages and separation from family and they're putting on their sad clown faces, Gillibrand does the same. But then she talks about for-profit prisons, which is true. But you know what? The for-profit prisons aren't just for ICE. Okay? Remember, ICE never existed before Homeland Security, pre-9/11. We had different type of border security. We're always going to need border security. Now, the issue of for-profit prisons is a real one. I don't like the fact that not only do privatized prisons make money off the taxpayer dollars, but then in turn they have their people working, doing odds and ends, whether it be assembling something, knitting clothing, doing telemarketing for these corporations at third world type wages. It encourages us to imprison people for long periods of time despite minor crimes instead of rehabilitate them. Believe it, it's a for-profit business. So again, Gillibrand will sneak a little truth in there with her establishment nonsense. Let's see. There was one person. Oh yeah, that was what's his name? Bennett. Bennett was the only person who did not raise his hand to make crossing legal. When they said, would you decriminalize it to cross the border? Everybody raised their hand. 9 out of 10, except for Bennett. So Bennett, you're a terrible person anyway, but at least you didn't raise your hand on that insane thought. So then Bootlicker gets in there, and again, he's very well poised. And we all know he's the gay candidate that's married, and he's also the serviceman. And now he invokes the Republican belief and the conservative belief of Christianity. Now, let me tell you something. I've never liked the so-called right-wing invocation of God, especially when you talk about wars in the Middle East. So he plays a good card here. He's a smart guy. But then he plays it on, how could you do this to the kids on the border? And that issue, when again, this was a policy already set in motion long before Trump and his administration got in there, period. Okay? They were still doing this. So he invokes that, and then Biden starts taking credit for the Obama greatness, and all of a sudden he's asked by, I'm not sure if it's Chuck Todd yet, I think it's one of the other moderators, about the 3 million deported under Obama. And, he Bidens the question. He Bidens his time. And that's when Bernie comes in, and he just starts attacking Trump, and it's yada yada, same old thing about the border. Swalwell says, let them all in as he attacks Trump. I mean, these people are literally like, let them all, come on in, let's go. So then Harris actually calls out the administration for the, I respect you so much, Joe, and your administration, but this is where I disagreed. You did deport these people. So a small bit of truth there. Biden really didn't come off good at all. And he's a slimy establishment talker. I got to tell you, I don't think he did well. Let's see. So then Bennett ran some of the Russiagate propaganda, invoked the Holocaust on the border situation, the concentration camp angle. That came up. And then finally Yang got to talk again, and this is where he lost me. He bought into the Russiagate propaganda, and then he started talking about China and insight into them. Bootlicker said that China was a serious issue, and he actually used a good term. Again, he's a smart guy. He talked about their technological perfection of dictatorship. Bootlicker is a smart and well-spoken man. Watch for him to be in the finals. I think he can get down to the last 5 of these people. I really, really do. They're going to push him because he's well-spoken and quick. So then that's the cutoff point before a break. So we're going to come back to that in a bit. But, they ended with Bootlicker, and they come back from the break going back to Bootlicker on another issue. They're promoting Bootlicker. All right, so let's continue with the questions here. Yang wants $3.4 trillion a year for UBI. Where will that come from? Well, then he tried to get that out. He said, look, it won't happen with the rate of automation right now and the fact that Amazon doesn't pay any taxes. So I think he's proposing a system where all these large corporations actually finally pay that 30%. Again, I don't like the UBI because I think inevitably you're just going to have mismanagement of money and everything just goes up in price. That's just one of the many terrible, terrible things that could happen. I agree, Since Majestic. I can't stand to watch that crap, so I rely on Jason to do it, so I'll watch it. Hey, man, I watch this stuff. Who said get out of Afghanistan? Yeah, Joe Biden said get out of Afghanistan. He was a big liar on war later on. It was pretty nuts. Let's see. What an embarrassing display. Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. Again, it was like when the food fight comment was everybody was vying, especially in that first hour to get in there. Kamala is a liar. Yeah, she's the female Cory Booker. Absolutely. Harris is the worst. I agree. Almost 30 trillion deficit. Yeah, I mean, the deficit just keeps going up, and we have all the money in the world for the military-industrial complex, and it was mentioned as a footnote at the end by Bernie Sanders. He's the only person that even mentioned the military-industrial complex, and it was in passing. It was an absolute shit show tonight, guys. Biden is the slimmest NWO serpent I've ever seen. And, you want to talk smart guns. I'll tell you what a smart gun is. So when that gun is sold, it's biometrically attached to your hand. It will not fire under another person, leaving it impossible to sell to anybody. And Biden pushed that very, very quickly. The implementation of biometric weapons being mandatory in this country. That was scary. Swalwell was all about the mandatory buyback program of military-style assault rifles. So every gun that's not a shotgun or a pistol, basically. He's saying we're coming to get it. If it's not a rifle, a shotgun, or a pistol, and even those rifles, believe me, he doesn't like it. You can keep your handguns. We're coming after you. He was all about it. And everyone up there was a goddamn gun grabber. No doubt about it. On 100%. But yeah, Biden slipped in the biometrics. Audio Ghost, I'm still with Yang, although he doesn't even have enough political aggression yet. Yeah, he looked awkward up there. He did. Look up Donna. I'm too mad to even try to explain it. I don't know. Did the 2 California addresses homeless crisis in California, and I just missed it? 47 watching, only 8 thumbs up. Yeah, what's wrong with you guys? Come on, let's get that thumbs up. Join the Burmese Brigade. We're going 23 minutes so far. If you're not subscribed, now's the time to do so. Share this stuff on social media. We talk about real issues here. It's about right and wrong. It's not about left or right. That was one of the great things that Yang said. And it is. It's about bringing people together. We're talking truthfully about these debates here tonight. Not that political spin bullshit and softball nonsense you're going to see in other places. Not that uneducated, I'm saying I watched it and I didn't watch it, commentary that you're going to see throughout the day tonight or throughout the day tomorrow and probably into the next day over, the last 2 debates. You bet it. So let's see. She's as useless as Nancy Pelosi and Eric Garcia. Me too, Audio goes. So what I gather is the goal to see we can accuse each other of being racist. Yeah, there's a lot of race politics later on as well. And the racist politics usually came with police brutality. I didn't love that. But Bootlicker again, that's the next thing when we get there. You know what? That's my next notes. We'll get into the police brutality and racism issue after that. She mimicked Bernie. Joe, I have to mention Obama in the last 2 seconds. Biden, yeah, Joe, you're desperate. They had makeup all over him. They were trying to make him look younger. He's a decrepit old man. He's like the Crypt Keeper at this point. I think they had something in his hair to make it look a little thicker. Sorry, Joe. It's a no-go. Woo, it's hot here tonight, guys. 80 plus degrees. Sounds like there's more turning left of the NASCAR race again. Neil, a.k.a. Mario, I appreciate the super chat. Fingerprint to shoot the smart gun. Yes, biometrics. Bernie had to be the best closing, in my opinion. He did have the best closing, but he doesn't look good when he's talking about more taxes on the middle class. That's the problem. And when he's a Democratic socialist, that's a big problem also. But yes, he probably did have the best closing. Nobody had any good ideas. The American people don't care about abortions all day and climate crap. You're right. Most Americans don't care about what they were pushing. But I'll say this. I have this in my notes. But at one point, the only time they invoked the LGBTQ LMNOPOXYZ community was when Bernie said it. And Bernie didn't add the Q. Tamari, Vox and BuzzFeed, they're going to be upset. Bernie didn't add the Q to the LGBTQ LMNOPOXYZ community, folks. It's bad news, Brown. You better watch out, Bernster. So we're going to come back to the questions in a minute. Remember, we read all super chats first, and they are appreciated. But as I said, there was a break. And then they went back to Bootlicker, and they got on the police brutality race issue because somebody was shot in Indiana. He's been confronted, and the video's gone semi-viral. They really let him just grandstand. And then Hickenlooper came out, and he grandstanded on Ferguson. And then Swalwell tried to shout across the room, "Fire the chief! Bootlicker, fire the chief!" Swalwell is desperate for attention. Desperate for attention. As well he should be because, they're not giving him any. All of a sudden, Williamson starts talking about race, and she's pro-reparation. So everybody wants to talk about race, and this is it. Kamala Harris outright demands it because she's black. I hate that. As the only black woman here, I demand to be heard. I demand. And she demanded, and she got to be heard. So this is where she really gets to play her card and liven it up. And then Biden is called out for a bit of his racism back in the day. And then Biden fires back that he did not praise racists. And this is their big moment. Believe me, that one's gonna be on the TV tomorrow a lot. It's gonna be in your Twitter feed, I promise. So they go back and forth. They talk about the Equality Act, blah blah blah. Sanders starts praising diversity, gets some softball question about it, and that's where he misses the Q in the LGBT community. Bernster, you didn't say the proper pronoun. Bernie, they're gonna eat him alive for that. Well, maybe Bernie isn't the leader we thought he was. What the fuck, Bernie? What's up, dude? I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself, folks. So then, Gillibrand comes in with the standard us against them, special interest stuff. And kind of laughable, but, she's trying to make her name heard. And she looked a little awkward, but she was still pretty prepared. She could make it into the last 10. I don't know if she can go beyond that. She could maybe make it into the last 10. So, she starts talking about clean elections and getting money out of politics. Also, the truth. She slid a lot more truth in there than anybody else. But, again, she's not a good person. She's a slitherer. Biden jumps in. Bennett talks about the gridlock of the left and right horse shit. Let's see. Biden defends bailouts. He actually starts defending bailing out big banks. And he brags about raising taxes and getting money for the cancer industry. That was Biden's big moment there. He bragged about all that stuff. We did this. We got the bailout. The banks got their money. The economy did great. We got all this money for cancer research for the trillion-dollar industry. I mean, Biden is so out of touch. I don't know if he's going to land in the top 4 in tomorrow's polling. I don't see how it happens. He's garbage. He's trash. Everybody knows it. He came off a lot better when he was young, and he was like Snappy Joey B. Now he's, desperate, creepy Uncle Joe dying. Pretty much it. So Bennett comes in, standard, politician nonsense. Gillibrand comes in, tells Washington is corrupt, tells the truth, and then she invokes Parkland for her gun-grabbing nonsense. That makes me upset. Then it's all about the paid abortions. And, Bernie's for the paid abortions. He doesn't really answer the question, what happens if he gets into office and Roe v. Wade is overturned? Because that's imagination land. They're not going to overturn that. But they want to ask that question anyway. They don't make them answer it. So Gillibrand, she's like Miss Abortion. She can't get enough. Harris, all of a sudden she's talking climate change, new Green New Deal, getting back into the Paris Agreement. Just again, that Cory Booker establishment shit that I do not trust. And then she starts warmongering on North Korea. They didn't talk about North Korea and Iran pretty much at all. But she threw North Korea in there and then, promulgated some of the Russia hoax stuff. Bootlicker jumps in with some climate change, and he's pro-carbon tax, that Bootlicker. So Buttigieg, again, very smart, well-presented. He's probably going to come in. It's him and Harris, I would say, number 1 and 2 tomorrow. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that they look the best. Maybe I'm not weighing in enough. We're going to get back to the questions in a second, and then we're going to do one more version of the wrap up the whole thing. So then Hickenlooper actually starts telling the truth about CO2. He doesn't really say whether or not he's for cap and trade or a carbon tax, but he says, look, methane's 25 times more powerful than CO2. And he starts saying China is the number 1 outputter of CO2. We're number 2. I forget what he said number 3 is, but number 4 is everybody on the planet breathing. He actually said that. Thank you. So when you're number 4 and your population keeps rising and the whole breathing thing becomes a problem because of CO2 emissions, what do you think they target next? It's always been about population control, period, amen. Bernie jumps in with his 12 years to go. Everybody, AOC, 12 years to go, 12 years to go, 12 years to go. And at the same time, Biden was patting himself on the back. He and Obama did so much for climate change. How dare you even ask that question, Chuck Todd? And as that's going, Swalwell says to pass the torch again. That's his line. Pass the torch. That's how we fix climate change. And then everyone starts shouting at each other again. Somehow the author chick, he called her a chick. He's a terrible sexist and misogynist. Marianne Williamson. I'm not sure if she's deaf. I'm not trying to pick on her, but she definitely had kind of a lisp a little bit that maybe she was deaf in one ear or hard of hearing. I'm not sure. She masked it sometimes. But on this, through the shouting match, she talks about great times and JFK sent a man to the moon and we need imagination. And I'm a writer. Somehow I got up here and I'm a writer and I've got imagination land for everybody. So, well, that's the GoFundMe. But what I want to do is go back to the questions. Let's see. The Slickster. I wouldn't mind a Bernie Tulsi ticket. I'd much rather have a Tulsi Bernie ticket if we were going to do that. I wouldn't. I'm not in love with any ticket they're going to put together, but maybe that ticket can win. Right now, Trump hasn't gotten us out of any war, and if he escalates Iran before this election, it's up for anybody, especially Tulsi, who didn't get a lot of time last night, but came out on top because of her anti-war stance, because people don't like war. It's pretty obvious. Bernie won't beat Trump. I don't think he will either. I think Tulsi has a better chance. 15 hours makes the bread, about $11 a loaf. You're not kidding. Everything will go up. That's what will happen, especially when you print the money out of nothing and it's not backed by anything. What's up? No GPS data. I'm glad I made you laugh. Unemployed Mariel. No, I haven't, and I don't want to. If you have Tulsi as a running mate, he might. I don't know. Anyone know how to get rich? Knows how to get good accountant? You're not wrong. I don't know, homie. I don't know what we're talking about. Jason Burmis, I'm starting to think that the DNC, is trying to re-elect Trump using the same strategy as 2016. Pair him up against someone who is disliked by more people. Creepy Uncle Joe thoughts. I don't think Uncle Joe is getting past. I don't even know who's getting into the second round, to be honest. I don't know that Joe makes it into the final 10. He's so horrible up there. People don't want him. They can act like people want him. They can try to sell him to you, but there's not going to be any groundswell there. They're trying to sell you Elizabeth Warren. She came in number 2 with less than 13% yesterday. I'd say a lot more of the stronger establishment candidates like Harris and Bootlicker are going to get pushed more and more. Let's see, just my opinion. Shapiro is rooting for Yang. I'll bet Shapiro's rooting for Yang. If anyone says they're going to tax the big corps, then they will be attacked by the mainstream media. Yeah, no kidding. or if you want to stop the war machine, you're absolutely going to be attacked. UBI is the future. It's necessary. I totally disagree, but that's a different program. He's definitely creepy up Uncle Joe. You think true on that? Restructure taxes, that's it. Let's see. I'm much more conservative, but I don't give a fuck if you get an abortion. I mean, again, it's an issue that I certainly don't praise. I wouldn't want to have it done in my personal life. I don't think that we should overturn it. I think states' rights are important. That's what a constitutional republic is. Let's see. Both the D and the R are nothing more than private corporate clubs. That's why they can change the rules at any time they want in order to favor their choice. It's a private club. You're not wrong, David. Looks like they put the spell on Trump at the end. LOL. I do not agree with that. I don't know what that means. Bernie all the way on this one. He's the only one who seems genuine, calling out the establishment. Lord Bootlicker, good Lord, I'm dying. That's way too freaking funny. I mean, dude, you got to be kidding me. Yang is good too. Again, we've talked about Yang. I wish he had done a little bit better in the debates. Like, he didn't get a lot of time. Strange times, high, not left or right, but forward. Yes, that was a good line by him. Let's see. No Zog. I am a Zionist. Yes. Uncle Joe is an outward Zionist. 100%. Yes. And that's why when later on he lies about being anti-war and he's going to get out of Afghanistan during like the very end of it, I'm just like, what are you talking about? The problem is that what they say before they get elected is not what they actually do when they get in. 100%. Bernie, genuine, laughed my ass off. The guy who bent down to kiss Hillary's ass, genuine. It's true. He didn't stick up for himself when he won that election. 100% back down. 100% back down. Did not stick up. Let's see. It was like Oprah. You get daycare, you get college, you get abortions, you get a new car. And you get bees, too. That was one of those memes I actually liked. You got bees. There's bees. If you think immigration is a problem and you don't talk about colonialism and corporations, you're being disingenuous. I'm not trying to be disingenuous. Again, it is a problem that we go in there. What is it? Tales of an Economic Hitman. The author's name is escaping me right now. John something or other. But yeah, the way that we send our operatives into other countries to take over their resources, absolutely 100% criminal. It creates the refugee crises. And we work with the cartels for the drug running. There needs to be a huge restructuring. However, we just can't open our borders for everybody just to come in and make it legal to cross that border and then say, hey, you get free health care on top of it. That's just an insane policy. No other country, especially first world country in the world, would even consider it. They would laugh in your face. Laugh in your face if you suggested that as normal policy. Let's see. Agreed. Jay, I'm not sure what you're agreeing with. We need more heartbeat bills. Yes, real 93. Oh, did that jump a lot? That jumped a lot, didn't it? There it is right there. Let's see. Stop effing and you won't have the abortion. How about that? Tulsi worries me with her CFR membership. Hope and Change 2.0. Again, we talked about it at length on the walk and talk today, and we talked about it a bit, not only in the video about her winning public opinion in the polls and then being the most searched candidate afterwards. There are problems with Tulsi Gabbard. Once again, I don't like how she says torture can get information. I don't like how she's just against regime change wars. I don't like how she's backed off a bit of her talk about Syria. There are issues with Tulsi. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad she's the one person bringing up anti-war voices. All right. We're going to do this last part wrap up, and then we're going to go back to your questions, and we're going to wrap this one up. It's already longer than yesterday's. Whoo! By the way, you know what, guys? This is a good time. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Join the Burmist Brigade. We do a ton of videos here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 a day on multiple topics. We're talking about geoengineering, bioengineering, quantum computing, the Bohemian Grove, Bilderberg Group, DARPA, much more. Assange, Epstein, you name it. We got a GoFundMe. If you can help me out, I appreciate it. If not, please just share my material and get that information out here. Everything I've ever done throughout my entire career has been free to share, including my documentary films, Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, and New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture, which are all free on my channel in a playlist, so please check them out. So, Swalwell goes straight for the gun grab. He says, we're going to take those guns. The mandatory buyback program of assault style like rifles. That's basically the most important thing to him. Bennett says it's climate change. Gillibrand, she's going to do stuff for the family. Kamala tax everything on she can, just like Cory Booker would, tax cut, et cetera, et cetera. Bernie, political revolution, you know. Bernie yells a lot, and I appreciate it. But the nitty gritty of Bernie, it doesn't get things done. And can he really, like, he couldn't even stand up to Hill Dog when they robbed him of the Democratic nomination. That's telling of somebody's character. Why should we believe him now? He couldn't even do that. Biden gives us bullshit about how we need to beat Trump, and his administration did great. Bootlicker says we need to fix Washington. Again, Buttigieg, very well spoken. Don't agree with him on anything. Terrible candidate. Dangerous candidate because he's so well spoken. Yang, he talks about restructuring money and where that's going to go. Obviously, you know, his Universal Basic Income, UBI, is his big platform. Hickenlooper, climate change. Williamson just starts talking about how America's going to be the best place ever. It's the best place ever. That's the author. Swalwell, mandatory gun grab. Bernie then starts talking about his NRA voting record. Kamala, executive action on guns. So she's got a mandatory grab program, even if we can't get it passed in Congress if you elect her. These are dangerous people. Bootlicker says common sense gun laws. Again, he skated the whole issue. He didn't have to go hard or soft on anything. Biden starts talking about the Brady bill, brags about all the Obama legislation and the gun grabbing. That's where he talks about biometrics and smart guns. Think about that. Every gun biometrically put into the person. What if you're in a situation where, you know, an attacker comes into your home and you have the gun, and all of a sudden, you know, it gets knocked out of your hand, but your wife gets it and she can't fire on the guy. Meanwhile, he stabs you in the neck and then he kills your wife. You know, just something to think about. That's all I'm saying. Just something to think about, guys. So then we had Bennett come in, attack Trump. He's the one guy that then invokes the Strait of Hormuz and says, because Trump's such a liar, no one believes him. Well, no one believes him because no one believed the Obama administration or the Bush administration or any of these neocons and war hawks. Hillary Clinton is another war hawk. And, of course, there's no evidence. That's why they don't believe him. It's not because we have a different flavor liar in here. So at the very end, they talk about what's the most important thing that they need to do once they get elected, right before their closing statement. We've already gone over the closing. Williamson, the author says Western alignment. Hickenlooper talks about China. Yang, China and North Korea. Bootlicker makes a funny Trump insult. Again, he's good at that. Biden says NATO. Bernie, NATO. Harris, NATO. Gillibrand is the only one that starts saying we can't go to war with Iran. She takes almost Tulsi Gabbard approach at this question before her closing. She does a good job on that, and I'm going to give her credit for it. Swalwell says Russia propaganda, and then we need to get back with NATO. At that point, they let Biden lie about war, say he's against war, and he wants to get out of Afghanistan and has a plan. Bullshit. And Bernie then speaks the truth about the current war situation. He talks about Yemen and how that couldn't get passed. But again, there's a guy that backed up on winning the Democratic nomination and not challenging it when it was stolen from him. That's a tough proposal to tell me that guy is going to be able to do things for us. All right, so let's see. The CFR stuff. CFR, not you, Jason. Biometric gun grabs. Are there more debates? More debates are coming, but not by NBC. I don't think there's anything else scheduled. Sellout, baby killer. Biden's makeup was goofy. Yes, it was. I'm sorry I'm going backwards, but we're going to do it. Thanks, Jason. I'm so handsome. Well, Rhett Rosa, thank you so much. I'm looking a little bloated and sweaty right now because we've been going for a while, and I've been up for a while in a hot room. Let's see. Guys, I think that's going to be it. New car, Oprah 2020. Those are what I thought about the debates, guys. If you like this video, share it with others. Again, I thank you for joining the chat. I think this is real insight. And look, technology is pretty awesome, right? the same platform that is trying to oppress our free speech and cull our elections and the information we get and promote authoritative sources does allow me to broadcast to you in 1080p, not only on YouTube, but simulcast on another platform as well. I could do a third platform with the power of my computer, which is amazing. And it's only because of you guys I can do this. Again, it's the GoFundMe. This is Media Month 1. So far, it's worked out very well. I'm happy. This is only video number 3 of the day. I'm not sure if I'm putting 4 and 5 out, but we shall see. We're going to start early tomorrow. We're going to be talking about robot fly drones and a whole lot more. In fact, a lot of people don't know this, but there were a couple social media hearings on the Hill, social media and content monitoring, aka hate speech, and terrorist organizations. I got to watch that. And then there was another one on other issues on social media that is also needs to be watched. We're probably going to do breakdowns of those, but I think that's about 5 hours of research to do. And it's not easy, guys, but I thank you for the support. Much love out there always, and I'll see y'all on the flip side.